What What is one thing that you could tell fans that most people probably don't know about Vince Lombardi that that you know and you could share with us?
I can tell you several things. His dad, Harold, was known as Old 5x5. And he was 5 feet tall, but 5 feet wide. And he and his brothers owned a meat processing plant in New Jersey. And Mr. Lombardi, even by today's standards, was heavily tattooed. Over 90% of his body was tattooed.
Wow.
Everywhere. Sleeves, legs, back, chest, everywhere. And Mom Lombardi, Coach Lombardi's grandma, disapproved of these things. So to win her over, Father Lombardi had the word mom tattooed on his arm when he brought it home. He says, Mom, look at this. I got this just for you. And in broken English, she tells him, hey, go in the bathroom and wash this off. I don't want to see this ever again. Well, he had to explain, Mom, it's a tattoo. It's not coming off. So she walks off in disgust, and he still is heavily tattooed. His Coach Lombardi was literally and figuratively colorblind.
Oh, I think I might have heard that.
Yeah, and he could not leave until Mrs. Lombardi laid his clothes out on the bed because he could not match colors. And you can tell out trying to do it because he looked god awful. And I'm going to tell you, as an Italian American, has a lot of pride and style. Boy, was he a shipwreck. He was a disaster. But he was figuratively and literally color, and just didn't see hues of color. Coach Lombardi, being the firstborn of an Italian family, that time their firstborn always went and studied for the priesthood. He was going to be a priest. Mom Lombardi enrolled him in the seminary school, and after 3 years, he couldn't, and he quit. So Coach Lombardi only played 1 year of high school football. And because he was older than the other boys, he became like an all-conference performer and was kind of inflated. And then Fordham offered him a scholarship thinking he was a star athlete, but he only played 1 year of high school football. But he was older than the other boys, and that's how his legacy of being a high school star kind of really took place.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that, but I want to ask you this about he was buddies with Nixon, right? Was it?
He was a big Kennedy supporter.
Yeah.
And he asked then President Kennedy when Paul was put on kind of like active reserve duty during the Vietnam War crisis, sent him a letter, and President Kennedy gave Paul Hornung a 48-hour pass to play in the NFL championship. He was a very, very large Kennedy supporter, and Nixon wanted him to run because at that time he was getting tremendous influence in Washington, which is another story we can tell. And when Nixon discovered it was I think a Kennedy Democrat that felt they were thinking about him running as a vice president on the ticket.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've heard that like they want him to run. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but what was he big into politics, or was that like them trying to pull him in, or was that something he was interested in?
Yeah, and Matt, as he got to Washington, I mean, politics was all around him. He wasn't political, didn't understand it, didn't understand why people, would not go to Vietnam and serve their country, didn't understand the press, didn't understand the sit-ins around college campuses, wasn't vocal about it, didn't understand why, as a proud American, you wouldn't honor your country. So he didn't get it, but he became a little bit more vocal about things. And one of his really prominent speeches, he talked about, and this is a lot of what people don't know, is he gave this really great public speech, and he talked about, we are always at the downtrodden and feeling sorry for those folks that don't have a lot, and rightfully so, he says. But why don't we celebrate? They've worked hard to achieve what they've achieved. This great um, excellence. These minds. Why are we cheering them as we begin to understand the people that don't have something? We need those folks to understand that they need help, but we should also be cheering those people that have had these exceptional talents and exceptional accomplishments too. And that speech began to kind of link him as someone who, political.
You think that he'd have been all right as a vice president, or even if it had went that way to the big job?
I don't think so. I think he's a football man at heart. I think he one of the important things about a football coach is when you these different jobs, you have to put in your system, right? This is your system.
Yeah.
And it's your system because if something goes wrong, you know how to fix it. In borrowing someone else's system, you have to relearn everything. So I'm the same way. I don't borrow from a lot of things. I put the system in that I know. So if it does fail, I can fix it because I'm the expert on that.